Welcome everyone to our webinar. We're talking about how to safeguard your business post-COVID era. So really wanting to learn about, what are the trends, what happened during this year in terms of business, the transformations, and then hopefully, with our guests, we can learn a bit more about, their clients and how they help their clients to accommodate this trend and then grow the business afterwards. So we have Yin from Hubspot. She's an inbound consultant, working with multiple companies to set up the CRM, the SEO, the marketing, just the whole suite. Of course, I'll let her talk more about that later. And then we also have Chanel. She's from Workato. She does business development, working on external partnerships and projects to, really help with people getting to know the automation side of things, right? But yeah, I'll let them talk more about themselves and who they are, where they came from, the company, what they do. So yeah, Yin, do you want to go first?
Thanks, Tom, and thanks so much for inviting me to join your webinar. So hello to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Yin, and I'm an inbound consultant from HubSpot. I'm based out of the Singapore office, and I've been working at HubSpot for 3.5 years. Might not sound like a long time, but that's considered like a dinosaur years for a startup. And essentially, if you've never heard of HubSpot, HubSpot is a all-in-one platform designed for marketing, sales, and service folks to move their processes online. Now, at the base of HubSpot, we've got a CRM for you to manage all your relationships with your customers, your prospects, anyone that you work with. And then on top of that, we've got lots of products in terms of how you can market to them or sell to them. And with that, we'll pass it on to Chanel.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Chanel. I'm based out of the Singapore office for Workato. I actually joined last year in June. So right smack when the pandemic was unraveling itself across the whole world. And the reason I joined Workato, one of the reasons I joined Workato during that juncture is because out of many of the industries that were badly hit by the pandemic, I think B2B tech is something that was following the complete inverse trend. So what Workato actually is Workato is a unified integration-led automation platform. And that sounds like a whole bunch of tech jargon, but essentially what we do is we help businesses to digital automate at scale. And that means that, using Workato, companies can easily build connections between any kind of app or system that the company is using to automate workflows involving processes between applications like HubSpot and Seek. Yeah. So my role at Workato is to help establish this uptake of digital automation within, on a big level, on a big picture level. So I'm trying to work with governments and schools to kind of roll out this adoption in the long run.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you both for your lovely introductions. A little bit about me. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself as well. So Tom, account executive at Sleek. Sleek, we really help companies and clients who set up companies in both Hong Kong and Singapore, from everything from the incorporation, company secretary, and accounting needs. And of course, for Sleek, the reason why we're having this talk with HubSpot and Workato as well, because like them, we're also a digital solution, although it doesn't sound like it, right? It's a very archaic industry, CopSec and accounting, but we try to, push the needle along to make it into a, digital process so everyone has a much better way. And even if they're, unavailable to come to Hong Kong or Singapore, they can still manage the company online. And yeah, so I think let's jump straight into it. Of course, COVID has impacted everyone, to a certain extent, from not being able to work with their teammates in the office, so that they have to, use external, communication tools, or when there are new opportunities online or lack of opportunities offline, business need to change and adapt a little bit. So I'm curious to understand, from you two is, what's key takeaway that you've learned from your interactions with your clients, your partners, over the past year, and yeah, tell us more about it. Who wants to take it first?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, Chanel.
No, it's okay. You go first.
All right, I'll kick it off. So, I mean, there are a lot of learnings that we had from the whole COVID pandemic, but I would say like we had two main lessons learned that I think are applicable to anybody listening to this webinar. So the first one that we learned is like every business really needs to be adaptable. And I know that sounds really vague, but anything can happen. No one would have predicted COVID, but things like that can happen. And it's always important to have some sort of contingency plan. So when I say contingency plan, it means like if you're used to selling offline, going to people's offices, and that can no longer happen, what is your backup plan? So make sure for whatever processes that you have some sort of backup plan. So that's lesson number one. And then the key takeaway number two that we learned is that ironically, even though we're trying to do social distancing during COVID-19, like human interactions is more important than ever. So despite whatever situation you have, always have a plan in place that allows you to have good communication, even virtually, whether you're doing that through Zoom, email communication, live chat. Those are important channels for you to reach your audience. Chanel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, being a digital automation company, I think what we really learned in that last year is validation that many companies actually do require a rehauling of their digital transformation or their automation strategies. And the reason we say this is because I think everyone has seen, this buzzword, digitalization, for possibly a decade now, right? But it's just always something that is on someone's to-do list, and everyone is just fighting the easier problems that are coming their way day in day out at work. Only until a huge event like that has kind of hit the world, and everything is kind of forced to stop. That people kind of see the problems that have been kind of like laying laying in the background for like a long
Mm.
time. Yeah, so the takeaway that we've really had from talking to our clients, our partners, etc., is that everyone now really understands the need for real digital transformation, and it's not just about slapping on a temporary solution, or giving everyone enterprise Zoom accounts and stuff like that. It's really about transforming the core of how businesses are run, how IT is viewed as not just a function but something that is the enabler for an entire business to run smoothly, as well as a change of everyone's mindsets is required to so that everyone, whether or not you're a coder, or you're just a regular administrative staff with no coding background experience, everyone needs to realize that these tools are meant to help um, make lasting change and speed things up in the business world. So yeah.
Yeah, I really, definitely, resonate with backup plan and diversity and diversifying your business channels, because ultimately it could happen with COVID, right, because of COVID, or it could be a shift in your business landscape as well. So really got to be nimble and even dip your toes into 2 or 3 channels to make sure that when something does happen, you're always prepared and you have a backup plan. For communication, I mean Zoom, Google Hangouts, there's tons, and even just straight up calling your colleagues, that's also super important. For us, personally, I've email is a must, Slack, and yeah, what would you guys use for communications? Is there anything that's, because you guys have been with the company pre-COVID as well, or for Chanel before. Has it really changed? What's the communication wise? Of course, there's no in-person meeting. Yeah, what are you guys using now, or your clients?
Maybe okay,
Go,
Ryan, go
go ahead.
first.
For me personally, at HubSpot, we've been relying on Slack and Zoom quite heavily for all our virtual interactions. I definitely miss having those kinds of casual chats with my colleagues, like tapping them on the shoulder or meeting them in the pantry. We can't really replicate that when we're all sitting outside of things, but I think these channels that we're using help a little bit in remediating like the gaps. So that's what we've been leveraging for us.
Same. So at Workato, we ourselves, we use Slack and Zoom. But we do have a particular product as a result of automation that helps our customers collaborate through their companies, and that runs on Slack as
Mm.
well as Microsoft Teams and Workplace from Facebook. So these three channels are also something that we are quite familiar with, and we do see that many business processes are starting to move from running just on email or phone call to actually being pushed into the enterprise chat application itself as well. So maybe I can share a little bit more about that later on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we besides using Slack just for communications and group chats or direct messaging our colleagues, I also, personally we use Slack, because it has pretty good integration with Hubspot and also our payment gateway, right? So for me, I can see when a deal is coming in, and then if something of note that needs to be raised up to our colleagues, then I'll just tag them. That's super convenient. I think a lot of times people, yeah, they probably have a free account or a paid account with Slack, but are they really using that to the fullest? Like you said, Janelle, is it just getting Slack for the sake of getting a hip communication tool, or how to better utilize it? Yeah, right. Janelle, since you guys are the integration experts, what's the most, I guess, useful integrations that people have with their communications tool?
Right. So something that was incredibly popular during middle of last year was something that we shared with HR teams. So we call it a workbot, and what it does is essentially integrate information from HR applications, stuff like maybe SAP SuccessFactors or Workday, and use that with other applications depending on the HR process need. Okay, let me streamline that into maybe two examples that everyone might be familiar with. So for example, employee onboarding or offboarding. So back when the pandemic hit, people couldn't go to the offices, right? So what happens if people are leaving the office or joining the team, like myself actually. Actually I joined and I never saw the office until a few months later. So what happened was I was shipped my MacBook. I opened it up, opened up Slack, and all my apps and all my hardware was provisioned to me on day one of work through Slack directly. And all of the information was being able to was pushed directly to me because all of that provisioning stuff was integrated with Slack. And the HR team basically had a workflow where they just click onboard new employee, and then bam, my entry is created in their HR management system.
Mm,
My user accounts are being made in every single enterprise application app that I needed. And if I were to commission an account for myself for other apps that I needed access to, all I needed to do was send a request on a bot through Slack, and then my boss would just need to click approve or reject directly in Slack. So none of this was even done on email anymore. So that's an example of remote employee onboarding, offboarding that was enabled through enterprise chat, which is something that we saw become very popular since nowadays people don't really go to the offices anymore. The other thing that was actually really useful, particularly in Singapore, because there was a government requirement to collect employee data on whether or not they've traveled for 14 days before they were traveling overseas, and whether or not they have any symptoms. So some large organizations that wrote that out. For example, there's our local public transportation provider. He has 11,000 over employees, and they managed to collect all this information directly through, I think, their Slack channel. Yeah, their Slack app. Just by
mm,
rolling it out on a daily bot. Yeah, so people would just go in every day, open their Slack, and click whatever they need to click, like the health declaration form, and then click submit, and all the information is just directly combed on Slack. So no one needs to go into their email, click on a Google form, fill in a Google form every single day. They just need to go directly into Slack. So those are two
yeah.
examples, yeah, that we saw really popular last year. And that's just on the HR front.
I mean, that's really convenient, having all your tech stack already first day, because traditionally it's you go into office, you have a meeting with the HR who will go through physically, this is where you do this, that's that. Yeah, that's super, super high tech. I had something similar, sorry, something similar at Sleek, but, I think, it was a year ago. COVID wasn't happening yet, but I still got to, physically meet our team. So that was very lucky. But yeah, Ryan, anything to add? Communications wise, because personally, I also saw a question that came in. What's your preferred CRM? So I personally am a huge advocate for HubSpot, because not only do we use it at Sleep, we also used it back in my previous company, and I'll let Ryan share more about why it's such a good one. So me, I mainly love the sales side of things, where you can manage your pipelines and so on. Yeah, Ryan.
Sure. So thanks for asking this question on what is my preferred CRM software. It's really hard for me not to be biased about this question. So I'll answer honestly. You should choose a CRM that works best with your processes. Like every business is different, right? There are going to be some that work better for some industries, some will work better for your teams. Just depends what kind of information you want to store. I can speak for HubSpot in terms of what we do well, in case that works well for your industry. So HubSpot has very low barriers to entry. It's easy to use, and it's a freemium model, which means you can start for free without getting any paid subscription. So you can get used to that whole tracking all your analytics and all your activities in one place before you make a decision. I also like HubSpot a lot because it integrates with like all the other platforms that you might use. So whatever tech stack you have, whether that's Slack, if you've got like Xero for your accounting, for example, that integrates well with HubSpot, so that you can track whether your customers are paying on time. So yeah, do your own research.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, get some demos of different CRM softwares before you make that decision.
That's right. You can also start very basic with a free one, or even if you're just beginning, a spreadsheet. When you're very testing your startup ideas, but you want to keep track with the first 10, first 20. After that it gets pretty unmanageable. But yeah, invest early, and definitely try to see what works with your workflow, your deal size, and your touch points with your clients. So those will be pretty good. Okay, getting slightly off topic, but okay, back into the takeaways. Now, of course, we've said a few common ways that people have innovated. Will these apply to all types of business? Like for example, not every company will need a HR integration, right? So because it could be that they don't have a rich tech stack or so on. What should they do in that case?
Um, yeah, maybe I can take that question. That's absolutely the case. I think integration and automation is available to companies that already have a significant amount of investment in the tech stack. And typically we see that as the case for companies with like maybe about 200 employees and above. Um,
Mm,
and that's across all industries in general, excluding maybe fast growing tech startups and if their product is related to tech. So I consider that segment separate. I'll talk about that next. But going back to that point of companies being at a certain size of headcount, that's when integration and automation really makes a huge difference, because that's when processes that start to get really bogged down by having a lot of people involved in a certain workflow. And therefore, if you can like automate away manual data or manual labor, then it helps that company get past that critical juncture and enables them to scale faster without having to to keep track of all these kinds of processes as the company is growing. Even at
mm,
Workato, we kind of seeing that ourselves, because I think before last year our global headcount was maybe like 100 plus people, but right now it's like 300 plus people. So we ourselves have also kind of done very recently in the last couple of months our own managements our own HR management system process updates. And
mm,
that's because we're hitting this critical juncture. The exception is if anyone in the audience here, you guys are running a new tech startup and you're building a core product that is perhaps also a B2B SaaS application, and there's a certain USP that your developers are fervently spending all their time building. Yet you want to have connectivity to many different other applications in the marketplace because it's all about that network effect, right? Then Workato can actually come in to help, not as part of integrating your own business, but rather as being like an OEM solution to provide that the integration element to the product, so that you guys don't have to worry so much about building that connectivity element, but rather just focus on your core product. So
Yeah.
there's two different sides to when integration automation can help.
So curious because, of course, there are companies who are very tech savvy who knows, the what's the latest CRM that works for them, or what's the integration that they may need to cut some time. But for, other industries when it's pretty, it's been established for a while, but still, have enough volume to streamline, where of course, you guys have come across clients who are completely new to this landscape. They don't know where to begin, but they know they have to do something. How would you guide them through it, to see whether it's actually right for them? Wyan, do you have something to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, for like change management is never easy, whether that's like digital transformation or any kind of change process that you're trying to make in the business. So for businesses that are like very new to these kinds of shifts, my advice is always to start small. So when I say start small, think about one or two pain points in your current processes, or one or two goals that you may have. So maybe one small goal you might have is, okay, I manually send out, chaser emails to my prospects from the sales team every day. That's quite manual. Is there a way to automate that? That's a very small change that you can do. So start small with one or two goals, see if that works, then discuss with like whichever, whoever your point of contact is at the business that you're trying to buy a product from, to do that consultative selling, I guess,
Yeah.
to help guide you along to understand whether their software is able to solve for your pain points.
Yeah.
So
So
be
spot
prepared for
something,
the pain points. Yeah.
spot something, very laborious or repetitive. Are these the prime targets that's right for automation? Is there other, different ones that is a little bit more complex but can also be, automated and, save some costs? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are many things that can be automated. So I completely agree with you. When people come in and talk about this, they normally don't know where to start, because you can really do you can do a lot of things with automation. But so how we normally try to guide people is also to ask them, what is the most painful part of your job every day? For example, one recent customer we heard was their e-commerce business, and they were saying that every time people return goods, like first maybe they buy something of like three different sizes, and then they send back the pair of shoes that's the wrong size. uh, then the finance team needs to reconcile everything every day, and the finance team is getting really bogged down by all of this reconciliation of the return goods. So then that's where we normally try and start to understand the process, how many hours they're spending on this. Can they reduce one head count if this process was properly automated? What would the finance team rather be doing than keying back return goods? So
Yeah.
so we really just start at that one area, and then when that's fixed, then maybe we can look at another area within finance, or sometimes they really enjoy the benefits so much that we start sharing the joys of automation with like the other departments, HR, IT, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we also spoke about, sure, COVID may have forced, some of us to find new ways. It could be, a new way of attracting clients, a new way of, internal communications, onboarding, or, even finance department, right? So how can business, I guess, use this change for the long run rather than, after COVID, then they go back to, what they've been doing before, right? Like, is there a case study proof, or, or is it a long-term, documented change that's a new workflow now? So, that's, we stick to that now. yeah, so any experience with you guys? Wayan or?
Uh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
both, yeah.
I was just going to say that, I think most people never really revert back to the original process if the pain has been automated away
Yeah.
accurately. Yeah, because
Mm.
I mean we've gotten used to, approving and rejecting documents on Slack, and without having to leave the window to go back to email. I don't think anyone's gonna decommission that just cause the pandemic is over. It's kind of like how, earlier we were speaking about when whether we are excited to go back to the office, and I think most people are like yes but also no. So yeah, I don't think, just cause yeah, I don't ever think we will ever really go back to that pre-COVID state anymore.
Mm.
In fact, I
Uh,
think, yeah, these changes are just kind of here to stay.
Are people looking to, of course, they've made these changes, it's a new way that we're working right now. Are there ways to validate, that process and, either to further improve it or to, see what else they can change completely so that they no longer need those in the first place, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going back to the original pain points that they have mentioned before automating things or getting a new software or whatever. So if their pain point was, for example, like this process is too manual, is there a way to automate it? Now that they've automated it, they can measure like the time spent doing that. Did you manage to save time? Now
Mm.
that we're automating it, is your team able to focus their energy and their intelligence doing other things that a robot wouldn't be able to do? And that's the whole idea. Like you want the software to do things that it can focus on, like the software is like an expert doing whatever software it does, right? But humans we have our own like expertise that robots can't ever take over. So you want to
Mm.
focus on what each side of thing is good at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, we do measure it in terms of time, either time saved or money saved. And um, I believe our customer success team does work with our customers to kind of track that over time, just to, show them the monetary benefits of automation. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I do want to add on to that what Chanel said. So like monetary benefits is like usually you'll see an uptick in ROI. Like what's the return on investment for buying the software? What's the return on investment for getting this automated? When things move faster, usually it means you can go through things faster, right? So it means that you can sell faster as well. You can
Handle more clients.
correct, exactly. So you don't spend too much time on the things that again a robot can do for you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, wait, I know that you're, inbound consultant, right? So that's looking at a lot of the new marketing channel, right? Or how to get more leads. And part of our webinar is to spark new opportunities. So of course we've seen a rise in e-commerce and people going online because visiting or even networking, B2B networking, that's no longer available. Yeah, any advice on this front for people who are looking to if they're already late to the market, adapt and to move on, be a new revenue channel.
Yeah. So I would say some quick wins for anyone who's new to this is to get some sort of live chat um, on your website. You don't need to buy any software for that. If you guys have like WhatsApp for business and WhatsApp is a common channel that your clients use, you can just put the WhatsApp plugin on your website. That's a very quick win because like I think it's almost expected now that every business should have some sort of live chat system where we can chat easily to a person to get the help that we need or to close the sale that we need. Okay, so if possible, that was the first thing that I would look for. The second thing is if you don't want to go down that channel, that's fine. If you're used to doing the email channel, right? Still have a face element to that. So don't hide behind words. Video is more important than ever. So try and record some videos of yourself. Like if you're a salesperson, like pitching whatever you're
Mm.
trying to sell. If you're in HR, you can do a video of like onboarding, something like that. Include it in your email so that you have a face behind like who's sending out those communications. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I have not adapted this yet, and I will look into adding videos. Are these like custom videos that you're talking about, or simply putting a face to a name?
It depends like how big your accounts are, I guess, that you're selling to. So if you're doing account-based marketing and you're selling to very large enterprise customers, I would definitely go down the route of like personalizing my videos. But if I'm doing a one-to-many sort of marketing campaign, you can just do a one-off video. It's still a really good benefit or like addition to plain text emails.
Oh, okay. Or even just simply having a photo as an email signature. Would that be, friendlier?
Yeah, that is. So whenever you have live chat as well, for example, I don't like it when I see a picture of like something random. I like seeing faces on the live chat because I expect to see somebody talking to me. That's my idea of live chat. If it is a bot, then yeah, a bot is fine. But if it's a human, I'd rather have a face behind who I'm talking to.
I'm like nervously checking my own chatbot to see if I have a photo. Okay, let me check that afterwards. Thank you for that. Is there anything, Chanel, on the new opportunity side that you want to dive into? It could be integrations relating to different tech stacks that relates to inbound.
I think one thing that would that we see really make a difference is an automation that pings and this is the very simple one. It just pings the sales team the moment an inquiry comes in, so that they can respond within 5 minutes or less. I think or whatever the company standard is, because the quicker that you get to respond to the customers, the quicker the more likelihood that you get to catch them while they're there,
Yeah,
and answer to their inquiry and get something going. Because I think even within Workato, we did some like industry studies, and we found that companies who aren't responding quick enough with the lead time. So very similar to having a chatbot for e-commerce, but if it's talking about inbound sales, it's just making sure that you have something to respond to that person almost instantly. Yeah. And if someone's not online at that moment, then of course at least there's an automated email saying, "I will get back to you during working hours." Yeah.
okay, yeah. I think definitely as a sales at Sligo, I've been for a number of years. The sooner you strike while it's hot, right?
Yeah.
The sooner they come in, it's best that if you can, even a quick call just to say hi, or the a quick email saying, look, we've got your message, let me get back to you real quick. I'll do some research. So yeah, that's pretty good. I just want to remind those who have tuned in that we are taking questions and we'll be answering them shortly. So Ronnie, Siti, Jashin, if you have any questions for us, do let us know. You can comment, you can share a bit more about yourself, who you guys are, and then yeah, we'd be happy to have a more interactive conversation with you and see how right now we can help with your integrations, your CRM or inbound, and also if you need accounting, COP6 services, let us know. So moving on. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, after COVID, everything resumed normal. We've had, integrations or new workflows that we've kind of picked up, and they're here to stay. When touch wood, or I guess not, but like let's say, God forbid, another opportunity does come up, which would force companies to make another change. How can business make those decisions quicker and and then get the ball rolling so that they're not impacted that much by the changing landscape. What Ryan, of course, you speak to with clients all the time, and especially and also Chanel, what's the major barriers that people usually linger on, and yeah, and how should they work internally or externally to get this over the line to make sure change happens. Yeah. Ryan, yeah. Oh, sure, Chanel,
I
go for
think
it.
I think one major barrier is probably just uh getting buy-in, getting management buy-in. Maybe even sometimes management wants to do it, but um, the managers themselves are too bogged down by daily firefighting to do it. So I really think it's I really believe in the education piece, like getting people to understand or see how this difference how this will actually make a difference in the day to day if they just spend a little bit of time um fixing the process rather than just always sticking band-aids over it. Yeah, I think
Mm.
that's one major I would say barrier to entry. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we find that when people do get started, they end up actually over time adopting more and more. Like they don't want to stop because then they realize, oh my gosh, my life is so much easier now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really just about getting that first, like daring to take that first step. Yeah.
Yeah. The only point I want to add to what Chanel has already mentioned is that for any change that you're currently going through or any business transformation you'll go through in the future, my advice is to have some internal champions at your company. So for sales team, for example, maybe that would be your sales manager. From an HR perspective, the HR director, or maybe the managing director of your entire company would be that change management champion. But we always need a champion to be the main decision maker to say like, hey, okay, I've made a decision that because of this environment that we're in, I'm going to adopt Workato's automation capabilities to make things move faster. And that champion is in charge of making that decision, but also educating and getting that buy-in internally to move things forward.
Mm.
So I think you need to like find that kind of person in your company who can make that influence happen.
Yeah, more of a top-down approach where someone can make the decisions and then influence other people to adjust or to although it's something new, because everyone's busy, spend some time to make the change happen or to prepare for it, and then to ensure the rollout is smooth, and then
Mm.
things get adopted or documented. More importantly, otherwise everyone will get lost. Yeah.
Exactly. And have open feedback sessions. So nobody likes change. As I said, it's very difficult to make people change their processes. So anytime you're implementing change, make sure you're having those open like AMA sessions with your employees so that you're like, hey, tell me, is this change working for you? Like how can I make it easier for you to transition? Yeah.
Yeah, like onboarding, adoption, or whether that change actually saves time, or whether something, feedback from the bottom to, yeah, really improve, work together on this. Yeah, any other things you guys want to share? If not, then we'll go into the
Yeah,
question.
actually, I think Ryan's point about the internal champion is absolutely right, and it just reminded me of this anecdotal experience I heard lately. So this is about another kind of automation. It's called robotic process automation. It's not what Workato does or has,
Mm.
but I recently was in a meeting with someone from National University of Singapore. They've actually taken up this sort of automation for their team, and there's like 30 over 1,000 people. So you can only imagine how difficult it is to onboard, that amount of people into a new process, especially something like robotic process automation. I'm going to use RPA for short. It's not necessarily that easy to learn. I mean, of course, when you learn it, then
Mm.
it's okay. But I think they were even trying to teach like admin staff. So, older generation folks who maybe are not as comfortable learning new tools. So how this really became a success for them was, having someone from saying top down, like, this is important to us, we must do it. And then they scheduled purposefully meetings, workshops, enablement sessions, feedback channels, etc. So there are actually large organizations out there that have managed to roll out such transformational change within the organizations. It just really takes dedicated time and effort. It can't be like, oh, someone go do this, but no one puts it on their to-do list. And
Mm.
you'll never get anywhere. So yeah, I think that message about having internal champions is extremely critical. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, you guys, both of you, for sharing. We're gonna jump into some questions now. We have one from CLL. So I don't think have a new real name on Zoom, but nonetheless, you asked what are some common automations you would recommend for e-commerce companies. So I'm sure e-commerce, that's fits right into the basket. I'll let Wayne go first because I feel like e-commerce CRM goes hand in hand, and then Chanel, and then I'll close off that question afterwards.
Sounds good. So for e-commerce companies, I would recommend, again, integrating it with some sort of CRM software because as an e-commerce company, you don't only want to track what purchases are being made, you want to follow the entire journey of your customers. You want to know what web pages are they viewing, what are they researching, how long are they spending viewing your products. So if you can say, okay, I can see exactly 20 contacts are viewing my pink handbag product for like every time they keep coming back to that web page. Having that integration between a CRM and e-commerce platform means you can nurture them via the automation platform. Say, hey, we've noticed you've been looking at this, get it before it's too late. So that's how what I would recommend, like having that full picture of the journey, apart from just like the online sales.
Chanel?
Yeah, I agree. I think number one is a CRM integration, because you really want to capture um, the customers that are coming in, and then the next level I think would be being able to retarget them. Perhaps they've bought something before, or they dropped off on a certain page, and but they were logged in, so you are able to see, oh, this customer dropped off at a certain page, and you can send them some remarketing emails. And I think in an environment when everyone is trying to maximize their revenue, this is something that you should go for. That being said, I think off the top of my head, there are two other things that you can potentially automate, depending on the priority of the business owner as well. I would say number one, you maybe want to automate your payment system if there's a lot of uh, um, payment coming in through through maybe your Stripe or something. Very, very great problem to have, right? Extremely happy
Yeah.
problem to have. You can't manage all the money coming in, but yeah, if you can kind of like automate that with your invoicing tool, or um your perhaps payroll tool or something, then I think that would make a difference if you're very lean on the accounting side. Um, and then, or maybe the other one, to help support that growth. Let's say you hit a growth where, okay, you've integrated your CRM tool and a lot of people are coming in, but then you're also facing a growth of customer inquiries. Then maybe you can look at automating your ticketing system. So maybe like with a Zendesk, and then you can automate that with something like a task-based um, application like Jira or something like that, to kind of just manage all of the inquiries that are coming in. Because ultimately that customer experience, if it's not handled at a critical juncture, um, you might start to see people getting angry, and
Yeah, bad reviews, right? Yeah.
yeah, bad reviews. Yeah, so you can't stop the bad reviews. You want to like just make sure that as you are scaling, you're not forgetting about the experience, so that um you don't like forget about the, yeah, you don't have that risk of bad reviews coming in before it's too late. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
I can close off, we at Sleek, we deal with a lot of e-commerce clients, and especially what's a headache is setting up the payment gateway, the accounting. That's a, government requirement. You have to do your accounts, you have to do your taxes, you have to do your audit in Hong Kong. So this is a nightmare for most e-commerce where, the founders are, really good at marketing, or, working out, where, what to sell, and the whole process. But back end they need support, right? So with Sleek, we use Xero exclusively, the cloud accounting software, and they have loads of integration to Slack, to Hubspot, to to Sleek, and then of course you make it very easy to not only connect to your bank account, where you don't have to import your bank statements, and then your accountant, it could be us, they can reconcile it very easily. And then, or even for your, e-commerce purchases, there's a tool called A2X, where if you're selling on Amazon or selling on Shopify, they can even do the reconciliation automatically, saving costs to even with Sleek, right? Because at the end of the day, less accounting hours goes into working off into your books, then the less it's going to cost, right, on the accounting side. So that's a really good one to have, and really worth looking into. But of course, it depends on where you're selling and what sort of tools you use. One more question we have from CT. Would these automations stay relevant as the new norm once COVID is over? Since certain services apps are paid subscriptions. Very good point, and I feel like we've touched a little bit on this topic again. But do you guys want to summarize? We'd like to go first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think absolutely they are going to be the new norm. At least that's how we feel from within the digital automation industry. Um, there are quite a lot of automation companies that have just kind of grew exponentially last year, and we even saw some new acquisition news that just came out um, last yesterday, I think, or day before, from UiPath. It's an RPA automation software, and they acquired um, something that's also doing enterprise automation to add to their tool of automation um, services. So I do think that the trajectory is headed there, where people are looking to make this a constant for their business, so that
Mm.
people can spend time focusing on the stuff that they like to do. So like Tommy mentioned, people who start these e-commerce businesses, they actually prefer selling, or they're very good at marketing, and they don't like to do the manual labor part, which is exactly right. No one wants to spend time doing things they don't like to do. They want to spend time doing revenue generating activities. So yeah, I do think that these things are going to stay.
Mm. Wyan, do you like to, I know you've touched on a little bit. Yeah.
Nothing to add, just I agree. It's definitely here to stay, I would say. Essentially, you don't, at that point, you wouldn't think of automation as a new process. It's already the process that you have in place. And then
Mm.
post COVID, I'm sure you'll think lots of other opportunities where it might come in useful for anything new that you're running once all the businesses are up and running again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes hand in hand, automation and outsourcing, if you're talking about accounting, instead of doing it, if you're a startup founder, instead of doing, accounting yourself, where better time is spent, growing your company. You definitely, okay, of course, there's the cost, there's the benefits that you have, but just imagine, right, if you're the ones who have some of your processes automated, imagine taking that all back again and implementing, that into your day-to-day, how much time that's going to cost. And, of course, you're not going to have, a lot of time to do your other stuff that you were, doing when the automation was there. So yeah, pretty good question, and I think that's a solid yes. It's going to stay, because the most important resources at the company is the people there, right? And automation is just a tool to help everyone push the productiveness to the next level, and yeah, that's the way forward. Well, I think do you guys want to take one more question?
Sure.
Anything that's stood out to you?
Um, I think the one that someone asked if Workato or HubSpot provides any consulting services to guide owners new to digitization. I think that comes naturally when anyone opens any conversation with a tech company, because we really do try and see what your business process or workflow would look like before recommending whether or not you're a right fit for the product. Because I think every single business has different priorities or different pain points, and um, we also recognize that many people feeling a little bit overwhelmed by this sudden call to get all their digitization in order and everything. I honestly don't think that most people are very advanced. Even the largest companies, the incumbents, are taking a while to adapt. So definitely this is a whole process that's going to take another decade possibly to kind of unfold. So yeah, I think if anyone's having any um, you know just anyone wants to just know more, I think I'm always welcome to have an open conversation with Ryan or myself. You can find
Mm,
us on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
nice.
same here. So just to add to that, like, does Workato or HubSpot provide any consulting services? So we have our consultants. We also have a whole onboarding process for brand new clients, just to guys to help you get started if you're unfamiliar with the whole idea of digitization or how they can help your business.
Yeah. And speaking again personally, if you're doing automations, in the past, for HubSpot, I had the pleasure of working with Ryan, who helped us with the whole integration onboarding process. And I feel like with Workato, you also get something similar. But yeah, do reach out to see what sort of support you'll be getting in the first place, and then to see whether that fits into your schedule, what does that look like? Can you guys handle it, or do you guys need even external parties? Because things like different CRMs, they will have usually partners who will be a vendor for those tools, but on top of that, they have a value-added service where they will have a more high-touch approach to work with your account and make sure things are happening in the right time and right order. Yeah. And with this, I think we're good, right? Yeah, well, thank you for those who've tuned in, and especially thank you for, to both Chanel and YN for joining me for this. After the webinar, we will send out a quick email with some nice decks and information about, who we are and our products as well. Yeah. Thanks,
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
Thank you so much for having us. And thanks for the attendees for taking time off in your busy days to join us.
Yeah, and thank you for your questions. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.